Good evening, welcome to another episode of Grant Talks Funny Bits. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Each week we have a different technical challenge, and who knows what it could be this week. Tonight's guest is a great friend of mine as well, a fantastic hypnotist. And it's going to be interesting to talk to him as well as a fellow UK hypnotist with the recent announcements coming out about COVID, about what we can and can't do. It's going to be interesting to talk about our roadmap of going forward with the kind of stage shows, hypnosis, comedy, live events, etc. So guys, if you can hear me and see me okay, let me know in the comment section. Weirdly, with Facebook's updates, normally we have a live feed direct from the event. Facebook apparently in the new update doesn't allow that to happen, so hopefully that's the technical issue this week. So we're having to do it kind of all backwards this week, so hopefully that update will be finished soon. This week you'll notice some slight changes as well. We have brought Monkey into the studio just because he was getting bored upstairs. And this week, weirdly, we spent a couple of weeks building the studio up and getting it really nice. And just as a nice challenge this week, we had a flood and we had water dripping down from the ceiling. So if everything goes black or sets on fire, please call the emergency services and come and rescue me, please. So without further ado, please, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want any advice or suggestions for tonight's guest, then please feel free to hit that comment section and ask away. I shall try and juggle between the two and see if what we could do for you. So I'm going to play this graphic, and then after that, we've got tonight's guest on. So, without further ado, please bang your keyboard, make some noise for the man, the myth, the legend. You've seen him in the comment section throughout this whole Grant Talks Funny Bits. Please make some noise and welcome Jason Simmons. There he is. Oh, that side. That's
this side, that side.
That way. There we go. One week I'm going to get that right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm good. How are you? How are things in your part of the world? You're from down south, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, I'm just from just inside the M25 down in a place called Erith, which is near Dartford.
Nice.
Things are okay at the minute, other than the weather's not too great this evening.
I must admit, a friend of mine is I think he's been on a bit of a break with his wife today in a place called Otley, which is not too far from where I am. And he sent me a video clip earlier, which looked like he was driving through a foot of snow. But apparently somewhere around here, there's been some freak hailstorms where it literally is coming down and looks like crazy snow. So yeah, it is grim up north at the moment. So not talking about COVID at the moment. We're both in the UK. It's a massive thing world over. How are things kind of London when it comes to bars, clubs and stuff opening up? I know up north there's been a lot of local lockdowns, whole areas that are being closed off, that people aren't allowed to be going out or go to households, etc. Are you guys seeing anything like that down your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so we've not had many sort of shutdowns at the moment, and as it happens, London's starting to pick up at the moment. It's getting like a ghost town, but it's still not back to where it was. People were starting to put shows on, but obviously we had the announcement from Boris Johnson on Tuesday. So I've got one gig that's a maybe, but that's been pushed back. So they said, can we start at 7 instead of starting at 8? So we'll see how whether that one pans out. That's for in the middle of October now. So.
Yeah, I must admit, as a gigging performer, the idea of venues having to be closed for 10 o'clock and being back in the car for 10:30, I think is not that bad, really. I quite like the idea of being home early, but it's about making it work for the venues as well. I know I was finding people's confidence was starting to build back up again a little bit. And then after that announcement, it's panic stations again, which seems to be what happens. Just as people understand what's going on, something happens, and then it puts it all in doubt again. So, but it's all about being safe, etc. So, yeah.
It does, and the thing is, there's no one's really clear on the guidelines still. I mean, I was looking in a couple of sort of performing forums just this evening as it happens, and there were people. Some were saying that if you're doing a live performance, it can go on till 11 o'clock. Others were saying, the guidelines said it must finish at 10, and So it's still very, still a lot of uncertainties around that.
Yeah, I think from what I understand from concert venues and theatres, I believe they're going to allow them to stay open a little bit longer. But licensed trade, bars, clubs, restaurants, I think is going to be 10 o'clock. But that's not legal advice. That could all change again. So yeah, I know it's going to be crazy, and it's weird to be in the industry that we're in, because we are an interactive show. So to get people from the audience and do that in a safe way for both us and for them is going to bring some new challenges forward. So yeah, it's been interesting. So tell me about your journey. You were an entertainer before you were a hypnotist, which from what I understand is always a great way to do it. I think having an understanding of the entertainment field definitely helps you when you're on stage. So tell me about the beginning.
Sure. So I've had quite a varied sort of career, if you like, in entertainment. So I've always been interested in hypnosis. I was hypnotized back on a stage show in down south, sort of 2002, 4, around that time, and was just fascinated with it from then, but never really had the confidence. Left school and did a bit of amateur dramatics, and from there I moved on and started doing stand-up back in 2011 now. So I still do a stand-up act. It's sort of massively changed from when it first started, was one-liners, and has now moved to more of a musical act and even sort of a magical element. And then about 2015, I did a bit of training with Anthony Jacquin.
Yes.
And then that was what sort of got the ball rolling for me, really. I started from there, and as things have progressed, I've just started doing more shows and going on more training courses, really, and sort of learning different things from different people.
I think, it's one of the most important things, especially doing what we do, because of our egos. It's easy to get involved in it and think, you reach a certain level, you go, right, that's it. But it's always about constantly developing and constantly evolving. Speak about developing. Jason Nobby Morgan is on, and he's kind of he wanted to know who dressed me tonight and the Battle of the Beards. And in his opinion, he says that you have won the beard competition hands down. But yeah, I think you've definitely got me on that one. It's a COVID beard. Yeah. I was going to say I win on top, you win on the chin.
I'm having a walk around like this just lately. Try and look sort of surprised all the time to shorten.
Yeah. So when you talk about stand-up, stand-up something that is very similar to stage hypnosis. It's developed over time, and that's quite a very, of all the entertainment jobs that are out there, they say that is one of the hardest ones to do. I always say, being a stage hypnosis with no volunteers is one of the hardest things to do, but we don't really have that problem anymore. So you mentioned about Anthony Jacquin, who's a phenomenal trainer and a phenomenal hypnotist, and the street stuff. It's weird for me, is that, do you think the street hypnosis is something that helps or hinders you when it comes to a stage show?
I think it all helps, really. Any sort of information, advice that you sort of take on, and that's why I sort of go on different courses all the time, because I just feel that even if you just take one nugget of information out of that day, it can serve you for the rest of your life. So yeah, I definitely think that it all helps, and it makes you a stronger performer. Because when you're performing in a street setting, you're approaching people cold, effectively, people that don't really want to be entertained, and certainly don't want to be hypnotized or hadn't even thought of it 2 seconds prior to you approaching them. So you're I feel a better performer. Yeah.
I think, especially having an entertainment background, it definitely helps. One of my pet peeves is sometimes you get people that come into stage hypnosis, whether they've come from a therapy background or wherever else, but they go on stage and do hypnosis and rely on that to be entertaining. But I think one of the biggest secrets, or one of my biggest pieces of advice, is it's about being entertaining with hypnosis and around the hypnosis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did see I advise anyone watching, go on YouTube and find Jason's YouTube channel. And there's an absolutely great clip of his stand-up where he's playing the guitar as well. Is that I mean, I'm not musical. Is that a custom-made guitar that you've got in that clip?
Is that the double next one? Is that the one?
The double one, yeah, I think so, yeah.
I had that. Funny enough, that was an idea I had probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And I did it, you know, the thing with what we do is we perform in weird and wonderful places. And I was doing a charity gig in someone's house. And in this room, this guy had all these guitars on the wall. Wow. And, you know, we got chatting and I said, oh, I've got this crazy idea for a double neck guitar, but the top is a uke. And you know, we got talking and between the two of us, that's sort of what became incarnated. And as far as I'm aware, it's the only one in its, you know, in existence like that. But yeah, it's, you know, so it's interesting.
Brilliant. So what challenges do you face? Where do you want to go with your stage hypnosis show? Where do you see your show going? You know, what's next? Forget, you know, COVID out the way. You know, what's your next challenge and how do you get there?
So my I suppose my challenge at the moment is really just honing and perfecting the show and performing it in as many environments as I can. And I really do mean that, you know, performing almost anywhere I can or have me, and just becoming bulletproof really, so that I can take the show into bigger really.
Yeah. Oh, we lost you a little bit there for a second. So Jason Morgan has just put street stuff, put shivers down my spine. I would love to beat that fear. Give me a full show house any day. So yeah. So yeah, I must admit it's weird. I've done a bit of the street stuff, and for me, it is a great confidence builder. It's a great way of getting over that approach game, which is going to help you in any aspect of your life, especially like coming to sales or approaching contacts or making new leads. There we go. Yeah. So we've got Brian Glenn here as well. Hey up there, good to be here. I don't know if you know Brian. Brian's a former stage hypnotist who now trains hypnotherapists around the world. So yeah. So right. Where are you more comfortable? You know, are you want to be an event hypnotist, big stages, production shows? Where do you want to take your show?
Really, I mean, I look up to people that you know, I watch every week, and admire and inspired by the people that you on the own, and that's really want to see stuff in future.
I think we lost you a little bit then again. I think your signal's dropping down a little bit. Tell you what we're going to do. We are going to play the clip from your street stuff that you've been doing. It's a great clip as well. We're going to play that now. Let's just, there we go.
Right, so in a moment, right, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. I'm going to offer you your wallet back, but you're going to believe it's not your wallet. You're going to believe it's my wallet, right? And as soon as I give it back to you, as soon as I say the word blue, you're just going to hand it back to me, right? As soon as I say the word blue, you're just going to hand that wallet back to me, and you're going to apologise for taking my wallet, right? So just nod your head if you understand. Good stuff. So ready, 1, 2, 3, eyes open, wide awake. So I said, look, there's your wallet. You can have that back. Yeah, it's been a wonderful night. What are you guys doing out here tonight? Like, are you doing anything?
I think I'll junkyard golf.
Junkyard golf. Yeah. Okay. Did you notice like the blue colour in there?
No. That's something to join.
Oh yeah. No, this isn't mine. This must be yours. Right? Just take it back. Yeah. Just put it in that pocket right there. That'll be fine. Yeah. I tell you what, you've got beautiful blue hair. Oh, sorry. What are you doing with my wallet? Like, why have you got this?
Does that say Felipe?
Felipe, yeah, Felipe. This is yours. This is your wallet. Are you sure about that? Okay, just put it back in that pocket.
It's so weird doing that.
They're lovely, like denim jeans. That's a lovely. I mean, what colour would you say they are?
Blue.
Blue, yeah, it's blue jeans. Yeah.
No.
Why'd you keep taking this wallet? Like, oh, this is you. Look, this isn't me. This is you. I'm sure this must be yours. I'm right here.
Are you interested in hypnosis?
Oh,
have a go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, this is a lovely blue shirt you've got on. Taking it. This isn't mine. I keep telling you this is not mine, right? All right, just look at me, right? Take a nice deep breath in. Just allow your eyes to close. Good, excellent. Just with every rock of your body, just go even deeper and deeper. I'm going to hand this wallet back to you. It's your wallet. It's always been your wallet. So just reach out now and I'll take that. Excellent, good stuff. But that wallet is going to be completely. Actually, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. When I get to 3, that wallet is going to be like it's the heaviest wallet in the world. It's going to be like it's filled with lead. It's just going to hit the floor. You're not going to be able to lift it up. The harder you try to lift that wallet now, the heavier it's going to become as soon as I count from 1 to 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. How's everyone awake? You alright?
No way. No. Get out.
I'm going to click my fingers now. That wallet is just going to become lighter and lighter, as if it's like a helium balloon now, just rising up towards the sky. That's it. And the harder you try to stop that wallet now, the higher it's going to get. It's just going to get so high now. It's going to be the strangest feeling in the world. That's it. Excellent. Good stuff. That's right. I'm going to clap my hands though, and that wallet is just going to become so heavy again. Alright, and I just click my fingers, it just become lighter and lighter now. Yeah, like a helium balloon. That's it. Good stuff. Excellent. Yeah, you're doing fantastic. That's it. Good. You can try to pull that hand down. You can use 2 hands if you want. That's it. Good stuff. And just imagine that stuck feeling like you did before now, entering those hands. It's completely stuck, locked, bonded tight, all the way down to the very tips of your toes. Completely stuck, well bonded to the floor. When you realise you're stuck, when you try to move those arms down, find you simply can't. You're simply stuck.
You want me to hold it? Sorry.
Harder you try, the tighter you stick. I tell you what, right, Felipe, we'll try something. I don't always try this, but we'll give it a try. So I've got £20 here. Do you reckon you could reach out and touch that? Yeah, you try it. Find the harder you try, the tighter it sticks. Can you touch it? I tell you what, £40, right? £40. Can you reach out and touch that? The harder you try, the tighter that's going to stick. It's just going to be locked on it tight. I tell you what, put it there. You can reach out and touch it, it's yours. But the harder you try now, the tighter it's going to stick. It's just going to be completely stuck on it tight. You really try and put some effort in. You're a strong man, right? He doesn't want it. It's 40 quid. He doesn't want it, right? I tell you what, right? I'm gonna count from 1 to 3. The eyes are gonna close. You're just gonna. That hand's gonna come down. You're just gonna go back into this one. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Just sleep. Just drift. Excellent.
Excellent stuff there. Absolutely. We lost you. Oh, there we go. Let me just. I just muted us then. We lost you for a second then, but yeah, great stuff. And I always say, like impromptu demonstrations of hypnosis, whether you're a stage hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, or anything like that, I also think they are one of the best ways to market what you do, especially when at parties or events where somebody goes, so what do you do? I'm a hypnotist. Hypnotize me now. If you've got something that you can do instantly there and then, it's a great way of doing that. What's the strangest thing that's happened to you either on stage or during these street shows?
Well, strangest thing, really. I guess, I mean, there's quite a few, but like you can never really warrant for what someone's going to do or someone's going to say, and I was going to take on a suggestion. So I think probably I used to do, when I first started doing shows, I used to do the snake belt, and I had a bit of an ab reaction with that. Yeah, and the lady was terrified of these snakes, and yeah, I dropped it from the routine like after that.
Yeah, it's one of that's one of those routines that can have such a dramatic effect, and on stage can look brilliant, but sometimes can have I know who's the Vegas guy that does the snake routine?
Oh yeah, that does a very good routine.
Yeah, and it's one of those that sometimes you're watching, that's brilliant, but yeah, it's one of those that I've not used and don't use because of that. I think you learn as you go along as well, that there's certain things that you can fire them off 100, 200 times and never have an issue, and then that one time something happens and then you kind of go, oh yeah, so yeah. But yeah, the snake routine's a crazy one. I once, years ago, before I was more professional and ethical than what I am now, I was doing a street routine. a doorman had challenged me on the whole hypnosis thing.
Right.
And one of the suggestions I'd given him was that the next girl that walked past would be the most beautiful girl he's ever seen, and he would fall madly in love with her, and all sorts of stuff that I piled in. And weirdly, the next girl that walked past was actually his sister. And it was it was interesting to say the least. But yeah, that was good fun. So I don't do that routine anymore neither, for the same reason.
Yeah. But yeah,
so go on.
Go on, Mike. Go on, Grant. Sorry.
Yeah. So one of the things I've seen you've just had done as well is you've just had some new promotional pictures, some headshots done.
Yeah, so they were done by a fellow comedian, a guy called Steve Best, who's a really great musical comic. You check him out if you can on YouTube. But yeah, he's also a very good photographer, and he does really good deals for, if you're London based, really good deals for people that are based in London. And you know, I've used him a couple of times now. I've been really happy with the way that they've come out and what he does with the images, really.
Brilliant. Yeah. So on a slightly different note, Brian Glenn says, "Did he make you bark like a dog?" No, Brian. I think that's Jason's dog. One of the things that I found, and it's a really important tip for any performer or any professional really, is those professional headshots make a world of difference, especially doing what we do. There's so many guys that look like serial killers that put pictures out there, and it's kind of like, you know, if you want to charge a good fee for your show, at least look professional. But yeah, those images are great as well. So yeah, is the green going to become your color?
I don't know. I've always liked the sort of turquoisey teal type color, which is the same color as that guitar that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
It's same sort of color scheme on my website. So I do like that color.
Yeah. I must admit, if anyone doesn't know what my favorite color is, it's obviously blue.
You take it.
Yeah.
I Neil Banks, and so that color's gone.
Yeah. It's I think from a marketing point of view, it always helps to tag yourself onto a color, and then it just becomes more recognizable. So one of the things you do as well is you have you offer some training and some mindset courses and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, so I've done it for a little while, but I do sort of locally do some groups, and I've done a few group weight losses, you know, and sort of put my hand in with some sort of basic training, but more training, I guess, to just show people different hypnotic techniques and they can use in their daily lives. Yeah.
And I know you do some stuff with Christopher Caress, who is a great mentor, a great hypnotist as well. He does some training, and again, it's about learning from the best at their game. And like you said, you learn bits from each individual person about what makes them special, and then that drives you forward.
Sure, and I think it's really important to invest in yourself, and you may or may not know, but I spent a bit of time with Christopher sort of earlier this year, and ongoing mentoring, and it's been really good to get someone to go through everything, you know, go through your show, someone that's a lot further along the track than I am. You know, look through every detail in my, you know, the way I'm delivering certain aspects of my show, and almost go through it with a fine tooth comb, and it's just sort of shortcuts, mistakes that I probably would have been making for years, really, for years to come, really.
Yeah, and it stops those bad habits becoming something that stick with you. And Chris's production value on the shows that he does on the ships and everything is way ahead 90% of the rest of the field of hypnosis as well, because what we do is so easy to just turn up with a microphone and do a show and go. It's easy to cut corners and be lazy sometimes. So to have that extra training and that extra production value, it helps set aside from everything else.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things I liked when I did the training with yourself and Christopher back earlier in the year is that you know, Christopher said was that, you know, he'd be on with a £10 million production, would have been on the same stage as him the night before. You know, really as good as that. Yeah, and that's it. I think as hypnotists, as a whole group, we've got to aim
to be better, to keep pushing forward. You know, the way I see it, if Madonna or Katy Perry needs to have big production and all those dancers and all that lot to make them have a good show, then I definitely need something to make it sure that I have a good show. So yeah, yeah, I try anyway. So, I mean, do you have your next show coming up yet? Is the one in the diary? I've asked that for most people, and to be fair, you know, a lot of people don't have anything in the diary at the moment. I have one show that I'm holding out for. It's still in the diary. I spoke to them the other week and they're like, we're definitely going ahead. But I've not spoke to them since Tuesday, so I don't know. What about yourself? When's your next gig, hopefully?
I've actually got something booked in for the 16th of October. It's just an open show, really, like an open mic type show for someone that's local.
Yeah.
But you get free reign there, and so I could do either some new material comedy wise or possibly do some hypnosis. I doubt at this stage it'll be anything to do with hypnosis, just because, you know, current guidelines really. So I think I'll probably just be comedy, just to keep a bit of oil in the gears really, until we can fully return back to some level of normality.
Yeah. I must admit, it's something I'm looking at doing, is kind of signing up to an improv course or a stand-up course, just to, again, it's extra skills that you learn that helps polish your comedy off brilliantly, really. So yeah, that's good. I know I have one, or had one, on the 17th of October at Ossett Town Hall, which is a nice show, really. They've just messaged me to kind of say, we're still happy to go ahead with the show. However, because of COVID, we can only limit it to 40 people in the theatre. And I'm like, well, it's not going ahead then, is it? So yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned about a comedy course, actually, because I'm going on one this Saturday.
Oh, brilliant!
So with a comedian, like good circuit comedian called Jeff Innocent. So it's running like a 6-week course in London. And the reason really just to sort of see if I can pick up any ideas, home bits of the act, and, you know, tighten up bits of the pre-talk really, and
yeah,
more individual.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, you know, the show is won and lost in that pre-talk. You know, being confident on stage, you know, presenting hypnosis well is what wins and loses the show. So yeah. So, you know, I've always asked people what their 2 favorite books are, or 2 things that have influenced them that they feel has pushed them forward as a performer or as a hypnotist. What would you say yours are?
Okay, well, I've actually got a few books, because I watch this every week, so I've tried to pick. I've been working my way through the reading lists of the sort of heavyweights that you've had on here over the past few weeks. I'm trying to avoid those. So if you saw, I've got four-ish books, maybe 5. So for this, like, I would say, like, Reality is Plastic, like, was the sort of book that got me started really. Yeah. By Jack Quinn. So if you're sort of someone that's interested in hypnosis and want an easy way to get in, that really cuts a lot of it's got cult appeal. Yeah. And then also another book that is not that well known, but it's by a guy called Jerome Finley, and it's called Thought Veil, which is a great. I think it's only available in PDF now, but that's a really good hypnosis book. And then sort of just in terms of performing, there's this one which is Stand Up by Ian Keeble. So it's a professional guide to comedy magic, but there's a lot of tips and tricks in there, you know, how to sort of punch up your show and present yourself as a just a general performer. Nice. And then,
who's that by again?
So it's a guy called Ian Keeble. So and that's KEABLE. So I think, again, that's probably, I think this is out of print now, so it's probably PDF for that one. And then I've from watching this every week, I've been sort of working more on developing my sales more. And one of the books that's really helped me recently is a book called 50 Secrets from the Science of Persuasion. So it's by Robert Cialdini, I think. Yeah. And Dr. Noah Goldstein. But that's really a really interesting book on sort of, you know, techniques that you can use or are used against you.
Yeah. I must admit, it is amazing how much, when you learn hypnosis as a skill set, it's amazing how much you see that spills out into other parts of your life. You see when people are being manipulative, when they're using the language patterns that we use, politicians, TV programs, you see it everywhere. So yeah, it's even if you don't want to be a stage hypnotist, hypnosis is a great skill set to learn anyway. I should have a course to plug at this point, but I don't.
Yeah, that's something you should be developing over this lockdown period.
It should be. So yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, this show has been something that's helped me kind of get my performer bit out there and still keep doing something. It's been great to meet different people along the hypnosis journey, if you know what I mean, and see kind of where they're at, where they see the industry going in the future. So yeah, it's something I very much look forward to and hope to kind of keep pushing forward with. I mean, what do you see being the next thing for stage hypnosis? Are we going to see somebody doing really well on the talent shows? I know we've had Christina Lennon, the Hypno Dog. She was on. She did really well from the Got Talent franchise. Yeah. I know every year, a couple of hypnotists are asked to go on that show. I personally think it's too easy to make me look daft on that type of show rather than put hypnosis across in a good way. What do you think that could be the next step? Another TV program, or?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think that just like comedy sort of had a resurgence, and it's, you sort of look at comedy, say 10 years ago, it wasn't really that mainstream on television. Like Live at the Apollo sort of transformed that really. So, and hypnosis time back in sort of the late 90s, Paul McKenna and Andrew Newton, those guys, even who you had on the other week, his name escapes me, and it shouldn't. Yeah, John. So even people like that, it was massive then, and I think it will be again. I think it's not going to be long before it comes back in some form on. And if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. I think it's going to grow in its own right.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see audiences kind of pre-COVID that haven't seen hypnosis before, are unsure about what it is, and then when they first experience that, it's amazing for them, if you know what I mean. And as a performer, to be that person to show that to them, it's brilliant. I don't know how well stage hypnosis translates onto TV. Because people naturally think it's fake, but I think stage hypnosis on a stage is one of the best shows that you can ever go and see. Really, it's like karaoke for the mind.
Yeah, I think with ambassadors like yourself, Robert, that you had on a few weeks back, out there doing it and putting it into the minds of people that, like you say, have never experienced it before, or experienced watching it when they were a child. I think it's gonna grow that way, really.
Yeah, hopefully so. So yeah, are you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and YouTube. It'd be at HypnoJ, and also Facebook is just Jason Simmons Hypnotist. I think you may have put the link to my website. It's just there.
Yeah.
Look at that. A lovely lady did me a really good deal on that. So if anyone's thinking of getting a website done and particularly likes the way that one's been done, then let me know, and I can put you in touch with that lady.
So yeah, on a slightly different note, what's London like as a circuit to work at the moment for hypnosis? I would say at the moment, pre-COVID, have you got much competition down there? I know up north you turn a corner, there's a stage hypnotist there waiting in his car. I know London's slightly different, because don't you guys have to, according to the 52 Act, you have to pay for a license to perform in central London?
That's right, yeah. So there are certain councils that, it varies from council to council, but I don't really see it as competition, really. I think on the whole, of what I've found from sort of doing hypnosis is that it's quite a supportive community. Yeah. All this, I've made good friendships with people like yourself, even Jason Nobby Morgan, and Dylan Lovegrove is probably the nearest hypnotist to me, and we all sort of support each other and raise each other up, and I think that's the only way this business is really going to thrive.
Yeah, Dylan, I see Dylan on his social media. He seems a really good guy. Hopefully, we'll get him on as well in a few weeks' time. So yeah, I'll touch base with him and see about that. But yeah, it's weird. A few years ago, it was a very catty industry. It was very cutthroat. But I think now people realise is that your competition isn't another hypnotist. Your competition is a different type of act. Bookers don't go, I'm going to book this one or this one. It's where do they spend their entertainment budget? Do they spend it on a hypnotist? Do they spend it on some explorer that's walked up the Antarctic and come back and has only got 2 fingers? Do they spend it on an after dinner speaker? Do they spend it on a singer, a contortionist? We're all competing for the same entertainment budget. It's just about supporting each other, because the best thing for my business is someone going to see an stage hypnotist and having a great show.
Sure.
If they see one and they enjoy it, they'll go and see more. If they see a terrible one, that kills us all. So it helps us all out to support each other.
Well, that's it. And I definitely agree with that. I think that the only way it's gonna thrive is by being like that, and it makes for a better environment as well. Because I know if someone came to me with an inquiry and said that I need a hypnotist and it's North, then I would recommend you. And funny enough, my name is very similar to another hypnotist based in. And so occasionally, I think he gets calls from my way and vice versa. So often I'll say, "Oh no, that's you want Jason Simmons, not Jason Simmons."
Yeah. You should maybe have the M as a separate colour, that extra M. But well, Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. Do you know what? It might be nice once we get out of lockdown from up north. It might be nice to kind of travel down to London, maybe meet up with you and with Dylan. We could get together and have like a hypno coffee, and it might be good fun.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you having us on. Like I say, I watch this most weeks, so I'm really humbled that you've sort of put me on alongside some people that I really admire and am inspired by. I think what you're doing is a great asset to what we do as hypnotists.
Oh, there we go. Dylan says it's been a great pleasure working with Jason. So yeah, brilliant.
Oh, thanks, Dylan. I appreciate that.
Well, and if you ever have any tips or any feedback about how we can improve the show and where we can take it with the format or anything like that, then I'm always open to suggestions as well. It is something as a resource where we can, as a collective, get information from each other and hopefully push everything forward. And if anything, it's an excuse for me to get dressed up on a Thursday evening and switch the lights on and I think I'm on stage. So yeah, brilliant. Jason, thank you very much for coming on. I'll definitely get those books linked up into the description as well when I put it up onto YouTube. And you take care, and I shall see you soon, buddy.
Thanks very much, Grant. Thanks for having us on. Cheers. Bye-bye.